Welcome back to the Ketos YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be setting up Microsoft Intune Cloud PKI with EZRADIUS in just 30 minutes. And to do that, we're going to start by making sure our Cloud PKI is configured correctly and pushing the right certificates. Then we're going to go in and set up EZRADIUS and all of the network radius policies. Going to go into Ubiquiti's UniFi and then set up our new EZRADIUS server. And then finally, we're going to connect to that Wi-Fi using no passwords in the certificates that were delivered. So let's start here in the Cloud PKI documentation. Now, at this point, you should have already set up your Microsoft Intune Cloud PKI. They have some great docs on how to set up both the root and the issuing certificate authorities. We'll link to those in the video description. But you should have now 2 certificate authorities configured in your Intune management portal. One for your root, and then the second, which will be the SCEP issuing CA. Let's go ahead and start by first downloading the certificate for the root, and then go into our issuing certificate as well and download that certificate as well. Note that these are just the public keys, so this is not containing the actual private key of these certificate authorities. Once we have both of those files, we're going to go into the Intune device management portal. And we're going to go into first our Windows devices and set up a new certificate policy. So we'll click on Create New Policy. From the dropdown, we're going to select Windows 10 and later since we're running newer devices. And we're going to set up a trusted certificate template. Now, for this root certificate, we're going to go ahead and name this Intune Cloud PKI root. And we're going to just give that a friendly name here so we can identify it in the portal. We're going to select that certificate file that we just downloaded a second ago. So select that. And we're going to store this trusted root certificate in the computer's root certificate store. And I'm going to select all users and all devices. However, if you want to roll this out more gradually, you can add those filters there if you'd like. And then we're not going to add any additional applicability rules. We're just going to leave that blank as well. And finally, review and create and go ahead and get that new rule created. And we're just going to go through and run that again for our issuing CA as well. So just like before, choose the trusted certificate template. We're going to name this Intune Cloud PKI issuing instead of root for this second certificate. And we're going to select the certificate file for that issuing CA. So select that, and for destination store, make sure to change that to the intermediate computer certificate store since this is not the root. And just like before, all devices, all users, and if you want to roll it out more gradually, you can change that there as well. And we'll get that created. So now we are pushing both the root certificate authority and the issuing to our devices. Now we want to set up our SCEP policy as well. So that way each device gets its own certificate. So just like before, create a new policy, but this time make sure to select SCEP certificate. And we're going to give it a similar name, this time changing it from root to SCEP. And we'll be creating a device certificate, so we'll name that device. Now, there's a trade-off between user and device. With user, you can do kind of per user configuration and change VLAN settings kind of based on the user itself. However, with a device certificate, you do get, you can connect to the Wi-Fi before the user even signs in, and it allows the device to connect to the network. So for this demo, we're going to choose device, but you can choose between those in EZRADIUS and in this setup. Once we've selected the device from the dropdown, we're going to keep the subject name format the same. And for the subject alternative name, we're going to change this or select DNS. And then using the variables provided within Intune, we're going to set this to device ID, which is the Intune device ID. So we'll get that configured. And then further down, we're just going to keep our certificate validity period to the default 1 year here. And then underneath key storage provider, we're going to select TPM if it's present with the fallback to a software store as well. Under key usage, we're going to select both options there. For the key size, it's actually recommended for Windows devices to use 2048. So we're going to select that. And then for the hash algorithm, we're going to select the more modern option here, which is SHA-2. Once we've made those selections, the next step is to select our root certificate for our SCEP setup. So we're going to click add the root certificate, scroll down, and just choose the same root certificate that you had configured just moments ago. From there, we're going to drop down our predefined values for the extended key usage. And because we're going to be using this for Wi-Fi authentication, make sure to choose client authentication. We're going to keep the renewal threshold the same at 20%. And then we're going to pop back over into our issuing certificate. Make sure to select issuing. And we're going to grab that SCEP URI. And then we're going to paste that right here into the portal. And they've already pre-configured all the variables and all of that. So you should just be able to paste it and move on to the assignments. All devices, all users, just like before, no applicability rules. And we're going to click next and review and create our SCEP certificate configuration. So now we have our 3 profiles, root, issuing, and SCEP. And once we get to the demo box here in a moment, let's just go ahead and force a sync. That way it'll push the certificates here in the next few moments instead of waiting for Intune to do the next device sync. So if I switch over to that demo box we just pushed the certificates to, I can open up my local computer certificate store. I can select my trusted root certificate authority. And now we see that the Intune test root certificate added into our computer's trusted root certificate. And if I switch over to the intermediate certificate authorities, I can also see our Intune issuing certificate as well. So both of those Intune trusted certificate configuration profiles we just created are pushing each of those certificates. And then finally, we can go into certificates and we can see our individual device SCEP certificate here, which was issued by our Intune Cloud PKI. And this is the certificate that's unique to this device. And this is what's going to be used later on to authenticate to the Wi-Fi. So far, we've just configured all of our Intune Cloud PKI certificate authorities, and we've gone ahead and set up all of those Intune configuration policies. So now certificates are landing on the device correctly. And this is kind of the prerequisite to now go in and set up EZRADIUS. So I'm going to first take a look at how to set up EZRADIUS in your tenant, and it all begins with the Entra application registrations. We have 2 of them. This first one here for the Ketos client, this is what gets you signed in and allows you to access the Ketos portals in EZRADIUS. So we just have some permissions there to get you signed in. So make sure to use a global admin account or work with your global admin to get these consented. And I'm going to do the same thing for the EZRADIUS client. And this just adds a few more permissions for things like interacting with Intune as well as interacting with your environment there. So we're going to consent that one as well. Again, making sure to use that global administrator account. And now EZRADIUS has access to your tenant, your Entra tenant, and we're ready to set up our EZRADIUS subscription. And there's a few ways to do that. We offer self-service through the EZRADIUS portal, and this also includes a 30-day free trial, so you can do a proof of concept with EZRADIUS if you're following along on this video. Or if you want to charge this to your Azure subscription using your Azure credits or even your Azure MAC commitments, we also have an Azure Marketplace integration. Or if you have any specific billing requirements, just reach out to sales@ketos.io, and we'd be happy to work with you on a purchase order or other invoice. Now let's take a look at both of the self-service sign-up methods. Here you can see the EZRADIUS portal, where you can just give a name to your subscription, such as Intune Cloud PKI, and you can select, in this case, the basic Radius profile. Just select that plan, and then you can optionally add a credit card now if you want. To get up and running with your free trial, and then it can automatically start charging your card if you want to continue. Or alternatively, you can go over to the Azure portal, just go in, create a new resource, and search for EZRADIUS. And it's just as simple as deploying one of the EZRADIUS resources into your subscription and resource group. So here I'm going to go and select our demo subscription. I'm going to scroll down, select our demo resource group, and then give this a name. Note that we're not actually deploying any sort of workloads or VMs into your subscription. This is just a billing resource, kind of that abstraction to make it easy to bill to your existing Azure invoices. So when you deploy this, it's $0 a month, and you're only going to get charged once you have users actually authenticating with Radius. So it's free to deploy this. It's only once you get it actually set up that we'll start charging. So once that's deploying, just a quick note on billing. In this demo, we're using basic Radius, and that's actually what we recommend in like 99+% of cases. We do offer other plans such as dedicated Radius if you want your own dedicated infrastructure, if you have unique compliance requirements. So reach out to us if that is something you're looking for. But for this demo, and really what we recommend is basic. In basic, it's $1 per month per the first 500, 40 cents for the next 500, 20 cents for the next 9,000, and then 10 cents for each active identity, which means the device or users that are authenticating to your network. And we have a handy monthly cost calculator at the bottom of the page here. So you can estimate based upon your needs, whether it's 100 users, whether it's 1,000, you can see what that'll charge you. And the nice part is that this is month to month without any sort of commitments. So if you're like a university or school which sees kind of variable users in the summer versus winter months, you'll only ever pay for the users that authenticate in your network and the devices. So if you only have 300 users or devices for the in the summer, we'll drop that down and then it'll go back up in the winter. And we always cap this at the number of users in your tenant. So you never pay more than the number of users that is in your tenant. So now that the resource has been deployed in Azure, we're going to sign in to the EZRADIUS portal. Make sure to use the same account that signed up for the offer in Azure. I'm going to select USA here, but you can choose the deployment location that's closest to your users and your organization. And we can now access our EZRADIUS subscription and plan. So again, make sure to sign in with that same account. You'll land right in the kind of dashboard view of EZRADIUS. I have a couple other demos we've run, so this is what some of the graphs and charts will look like once you get going and get some devices authenticating on your network. But underneath settings, let's scroll down and we can see that same Intune Cloud PKI demo that we just deployed. By default, we add the user that created that offer as an owner, which allows you to update the subscription, make changes, add additional users. There's also network administrators, so you can change the actual Radius policies and networking rules, but not the subscription itself. And we also have log readers for those users in your organization that just need to read the logs. And you can add users, groups, or applications here from your Entra tenant, so we make it easy to manage those. We also allow you to send audit logs to your SIEM solution. So we have built-in support for Azure Sentinel, LogScale, as well as Splunk Cloud. We have a bunch that we're working to add over the next few months. And if there's one here that you're not seeing that you'd really like to get added to the list, reach out and we'd be happy to work with you to get some more added there as well. In our docs, we have some resources for how to get started with some starter dashboards, just to get a real-time look into your network once devices start authenticating. So if you happen to use Azure Sentinel, we have some starter dashboards there for you. But I'm going to keep all the defaults here the same, so no, don't need to make any changes to our EZRADIUS subscription. Now we're going to go into our policies. You'll note here that we actually have both a geo-redundant service. So we run, for example, in the USA in both US East and US West. And we also have a zonal redundant deployment as well with IP addresses in each of the availability zones within that region. So once you get to setting up your Radius servers in your networking controllers, make sure to add all of those IP addresses. So that way you'll have the highest uptime based upon both geo and zonal redundancy. So now that we have our subscription, let's create our very first Radius server policy. So I'm going to continue the example of being at a university or school. Make sure to first add the IP address, like your public IP address, that would interact with the cloud-based EZRADIUS service. We have a tool here to just add your IP address that the EZRADIUS service sees coming into the server. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that. It'll generate a shared secret for that IP address automatically. And then there's some additional configuration. We recommend keeping the defaults, but if you're following a step-by-step guide for your particular networking equipment, we'll let you know when you do need to select something like always send the message authenticator, which is used in like FortiGate products. But keep this blank since we'll be using Ubiquiti. Now, for the accepted certificate authorities, if you happen to be an EZCA customer as well, we have integration there, but because we're doing Intune Cloud PKI, we're going to switch that over to local CA. We're first going to select that same root certificate. However, note that we actually need a base 64 encoded version of the certificate. So to do that, it's actually just a quick command if you're on Windows using certutil to just re-encode that certificate as its base 64 interpretation. So just run the command certutil encode and it'll output that base 64. And then we'll run the same command here for the issuing certificate as well. And that will output that base 64 encoded version there. So now that we have both of those, we can first upload our root certificate and we can also upload our issuing certificate as well. Make sure that you've unchecked that is root CA box there. So that way you'll have your root with the checkbox for the root and then Intune issuing without that. So now you have both your root and issuing configured in EZRADIUS. And now we do need a certificate for the Radius server itself. We make it super easy and just auto-generate that for you. However, if you do have an EZCA PKI infrastructure, or if you do want to manage other PKI, you can optionally choose to bring your own, but just keep it the same and as on the default there, and we'll generate that for you. So that's it for the server configuration. Now let's go ahead and set up our access policies. And this configures how users authenticate to the network, what VLANs they get assigned to, and other things like that. So continuing the example of like a university, you might have a policy for your students. So students might land in a specific VLAN separate from like faculty or something like that. So we've given it a name, and now you can configure its behaviors, such as username and password, but since we're using certificates, we want to use that. We're going to match it with our Entra directory, and here is where you would select whether you're using a user certificate or a device certificate. Since we had already set up a device cert inside of Intune and SCEP, we're going to select that. And then we're going to drop that down and select Intune device ID as our subject alternative name for the DNS name. And that's the same device ID from before. We also allow you to check device compliance if you only want to allow kind of patched, secure, compliant devices on your network. So that's an optional check and integration we have. And we also allow you to check whether a device or a user is in a security group inside of your Entra directory as well. So for example, we here have a students group, so we've selected that. And now that we've attributed this device to the user and the student, we want to assign a static VLAN, such as like VLAN number 1. We do have some advanced settings here, such as like MAC authentication bypass. We're just going to leave those in their default state for now for this demo, and we're going to add our policy for students. So now students can authenticate to the network and be placed in their own VLAN. Now, because policies are run in order, we're also going to set up a catch-all policy. So like policies will evaluate from top to bottom. And if you have a device which is not attributed to a student, we also want to add a catch-all policy, which doesn't get a VLAN in this particular case. So for this demo, that's good. Let's go ahead and make sure to up in the top right corner, click Create Policy. And now this will go into the server, commit that policy, and now we're ready to set up our networking gear with our brand new EZRADIUS subscription with those starter policies. So here you can see our policies with our configuration that we just set both on the server authentication and that server certificate. And yeah, here's that auto-generated certificate that we mentioned earlier. Make sure to download the CA certificate, which was the issuer for the certificate. We need to actually push that to our devices so that way the devices in our environment can authenticate and communicate with the Radius server. So just like we had done before for the issuing and the root, we need to add an additional trusted certificate as well. So go in Windows 10 and later, templates, just like before, we're going to select trusted certificate. Give that one more click create. And then we're going to give this a name following the same pattern as before. So Intune Cloud PKI EZRADIUS. And this will be the EZRADIUS server that we had just configured. So I'm going to go in, select that file that I just downloaded for the root CA for EZRADIUS, and then this needs to go to the computer certificate store in the root store. So we'll keep that the same. One more time, all devices, all users, no applicability rules. Click next, click create, and now we have our trusted certificate for the Intune Cloud PKI EZRADIUS server. And now this will start pushing down this trusted certificate to all of our devices. And because Intune can take a little bit, we're just going to force a sync one more time to make sure that that certificate lands onto our demo device. While that's syncing and pushing that certificate down, we're going to go ahead and now set up our UniFi controller to be set up with our new Radius server. For this demo, we're using Ubiquiti's UniFi. However, we have a large catalog of devices that we support. We support any Radius, any device that supports Radius, but we like to create step-by-step guides for the most popular devices. We'll be adding a bunch more over the coming months, and let us know if you're not seeing a guide that you'd like to see. There's actually a full end-to-end video for Ubiquiti's UniFi if you want to go in deep on all of that. But in terms of setting up Radius and doing the basics, here in my UniFi controller, I'm going to scroll down inside of settings and you'll see the Radius section. I'm going to create a new Radius server. I'm going to name it EZRADIUS. I'm going to set this up for wireless, but you can also set it up for wired if you'd like. And once I've done that, I'm going to add in the IP address of our EZRADIUS server. And I noted before that we actually have a list of IP addresses. So just scroll up in your policies here and then add each and every one of these IP addresses. So the 3 from US East, the 3 from US West. So that way UniFi will attempt each of the IP addresses when it's time to authenticate within your network. So just grab that shared secret from the IP address of your UniFi network. So make sure to use the correct shared secret that is specific to your UniFi setup. And then make sure to click add over on the corner there to commit that IP address. So now I just added our first IP address from US East. And for the demo, I'm just going to add one from US West, but make sure to add all 6 to get the highest availability within your network. So set up our West US IP address, use that same shared secret as before, and I'm going to go in and now add our Radius server. So we have EZRADIUS set up with 2 servers. Now within my network controller, I want to create a new dedicated network for this demo, one that uses Radius and uses the WPA Enterprise. So I'm going to click Create New Network. I'm going to name this one Intune Cloud PKI Demo. And instead of giving it a password, we're going to switch this over to manual. We're going to scroll down and we are going to change the network security protocol from WPA2 or WPA3 and make sure to select Enterprise. We have some older devices, so I'm going to choose a mix of WPA2 and 3. And then I'm going to choose the Radius profile that we just created just a moment ago. And there's a few other options you can set here which we support, such as fast roaming if you wanted to set that up within your network. But for this demo, I'm just going to keep all the defaults the same for simplicity. And I can go ahead and add the network. So now it's broadcasting out my new Intune Cloud PKI network using the Radius servers and using all of that configuration. So back in Intune, the final step is to push our brand new Wi-Fi profile. So that way devices within my environment can actually know about the network and get connected automatically. So I'm going to create a new template. I'm going to select Wi-Fi this time. So earlier we did trusted certificate and SCEP. This time I'm going to select Wi-Fi, and then I'm going to name this Intune Cloud PKI Wi-Fi, just to find it easily within the portal here. Under the Wi-Fi type, make sure to select Enterprise, so that way we can configure the certificate-based authentication. I'm going to give it the SSID of the network we just created, so I'm going to copy and paste Intune Cloud PKI demo, and I'm going to have the connection name be the same as well. Since this is our main Wi-Fi, we want to connect automatically when in range. I'm going to keep these next two options the default, and then down underneath the more advanced configuration here, I'm going to select a machine authentication mode since we're using the device certificates. I'm going to set the authentication period here to 30 seconds. Since this is a cloud-based radius service, there's just that marginal extra latency there, so we want to add that. And then for the retry delay period, set that to 1. And for the start period, keep that the default. The maximum EA poll start, set that to 5. And then the maximum authentication failures, we found that 5 is a value that works well for both EZRADIUS and UniFi. So these values we found from working with a lot of customers setting up EZRADIUS in environments. So this makes it work, gives you that higher degree of stability. So other than that, the next thing we need to do is set up our EAP type, set that to eap-tls. And here is where we need to specify the certificate from our EZRADIUS server. So before we downloaded the CA certificate, now go in and download the actual certificate itself for your EZRADIUS server. And this is how your devices and the Wi-Fi profile can connect directly. So we pushed the trusted CA, now we're pushing the certificate itself or details about it. So make sure in the certificate that you just downloaded, add the subject name, which is EZRADIUS, and then add the underneath subject alternative names. Add each of the IP addresses as well as the DNS names that are within this certificate. And note that depending on where you deployed your EZRADIUS subscription, whether it's US, Asia, and so on, these IP addresses may vary or will vary in terms of their values and the number of IP addresses that you may see. So just grab all of the DNS names and IP addresses and just add them into this list here. So I've gone ahead and done that. And then finally, we need to add the root certificate for server validation. And this is going to be that EZRADIUS root CA from before. So we're going to select the EZRADIUS value. Under authentication method, choose your SCEP certificate and then choose that profile from before for SCEP device. So this is just select it from the list. You should see it from when we set it up just a few minutes ago. Then underneath assignments, we're going to do all devices, all users, just like before, no applicability rules, and then going to create that. So now we've created our Wi-Fi profile, and we're going to just do one more sync on our device just to make sure that it gets pushed down to our demo device and gets that Wi-Fi profile created. So let's just to test things out, now that we've done all of the setup, I'm going to switch over to our demo device here. And this has already completed the sync, so it has all the certificates, it has the Wi-Fi profile. And so now I can go into Wi-Fi known networks. You'll see the Intune Cloud PKI demo that was just pushed down into our device. And I can now go back over to our Wi-Fi settings. I'm going to re-enable Wi-Fi, and now you should see from the Wi-Fi network picker, we can choose Intune Cloud PKI demo, click connect, and here just in a few moments, it will take our SCEP certificate, authenticate with the EZRADIUS server, and then get us connected into that network. And there we go. So just now in under 30 minutes, we've set up our Intune Cloud PKI, pushed the certificate authority certificates down into our device. We've pushed our SCEP certificate and gotten that configured, set up EZRADIUS, set up our radius policies and networking policies, and finally gotten that all pushed down into our device as part of a Wi-Fi profile with Ubiquiti and connected to our Wi-Fi. So just like that, 30 minutes, you can get up and running with Microsoft Intune Cloud PKI and Ketos EZRADIUS. Thanks for stopping by, and definitely check out the rest of our channel and let us know if you have any questions or need any help with any other setups.